So we did the app.cs. The second one is the index.js. The third one is the app.js with it. The fourth file that we're going to attack here is what's called the navbar.js. This one is the one that actually sits inside of your component with it. And I'm going to walk you through these files with it, and I would like for you to understand a couple of the key concepts that I'm talking about with it, because there's certain states that when we refer to the navbar states with it, and there's 5 states I want to talk to you about in a second here with it as well. So let's go ahead and talk a couple of these things as we go through this with it as well. So the first one, we need to import in the different states of React file with it. So import React, and not from React, from just do React, comma, and I like for you to just take this out for the time being with it, and start with in a curly bracket with it. The first one is what's called use state. All right, bear with me in this. I'm going to talk about different type of use state. This is user state. That's called use state with it. From React in double quotation with it, semicolon with it. All right, so let's get all this in, and I'm going to go back and talk to you about the different type states with it. The second one that we are going to import is the graphics. So the graphics that when we talk about the graphics, so the next line is to import that graphic, that little pizza picture I want to bring in, and this is how you bring in a piece of picture with it. So you do import logo, you give it a name. This is logo, uppercase L, logo, and and you tell it the path of this logo with it. So you put it in a quote, and I want you to make sure you understand this, is that you have to connect the navbar.js to your asset file with it, right? So if you expand your asset files with it, the file that you're looking for is the pizza logo is here. Can you see that? So how do I go from navbar.js through, meaning going out of my component directory, coming into the assets directory to find this? All right, so this is what we do, is we call it a path. We need to get out of this, right? So here is the file that we are working on right now, and I need to go up one level from here. So remember the 2 command I was telling you about, is one is the dot, is to look inside the directory, and the dot is to get out, go to the parent directory. All right, that tells you to go to the parent directory. I'm at the parent directory right now, so I need to go into what? The parent directory's component, the same level as my component. I do a /, it automatically pulls down the menu of my assets, and inside my asset I hit another / with it, right? And it tells me I need to tell it to go to a file, which is what? Here's my asset down to what? Pizza logo, exact spelling is this. Pizza, uppercase L, logo.png. So pizza logo.png with it. All right, and come to the right of that quotation, hit a semicolon for me. So that's the second file we're going to talk about. The third import that we're going to bring in is your link with it. So link is equivalent to your href that you link to a file with it, right? So allowing you to connect to other files with it as well. And we're going to pull that from our router, React router here. React router DOM. Okay? And semicolon. That's the third one. The next one, import we're going to actually bring in a reordering icon with it as well. So I'll explain this a little bit to you later on when we talk about the formatting of this with it. So the reordering of the icon is, remember, the list and unlist stuff that you can actually do as part of the layout with it. So the import reorder icon coming from the library file at material UI icons, this one, and do reorder. Make sure you have the right uppercase sensitive for me, please. All right, so at material-UI, short for user interface, / icons, plural, / uppercase R for reorder. And the last one, of course, we have to bring in is connect, is we're going to import the style, the dot. We need to go to the style side of this, is this one right here, styles, and we need to bring in the Navbar CSS, which is this one right here. All right. So if you remember I'm going from where? I'm going from Navbar JS to navbar.css. So I have to go to the parent directory dot, and then I come down to the styles, right? And then I go inside the styles, I find the navbar.css. So the dot tells me to go to the parent directory, styles, all right, / and navbar. Now, typically with it, you would actually, it has a pull-down menu with it, but that's not always the case with it as well. So I give you 5 lines of imports with it. Make sure you have this right here before we continue on if you need to, all right? So, so that's first few lines with it. I want you to, of course, you need to, of course, put in your, if you go back, let me collapse some of the stuff here, your .js with it. I need for you to put your headers on all these if possible with it, okay? If not, don't worry about it. I just need it on some of your pages to be, so I can know who it is with it, as well with it. Anyways, I'm not picking up the actual files. It's just too large for you to upload this with it. But here's what I need for you to do. All right, going back to the nav.js with it. So this is what we have. So what's the name of the file? It's navbar uppercase N. So we need to write our function. Starting with the word function, right? And navbar. Hit tab. And parentheses, left and right parentheses, and a curly bracket to open that up with it, right? We're going to actually, I want to talk to you about some states right now with it. So you have to understand the states, okay, before I can actually talk to you about the different type of states and how it actually looks with it. So let me pull up the notepad that we have. Here's our notepad. And let me come down here on this right here, and I'm going to just type in here 5 React states. The first state I want to talk to you about is these different type of React states. Let me just list them all out here and we can talk. The first one's called the logical states. The second one is called the server state. The third one is called the form state. The fourth one is called the navigation state. And the last one, number 5, is called the browser state. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little about some of these states so you can understand with the state that's going on with it, and you need to know this for the exam when the time comes with it. So let's talk about the logical states with it as well. The logical states, actually, it's information. It's when you actually write if and else statements in your programming code with it. So the actual function of the state knows to make logical decisions, to return a boolean and all that stuff with it. All I can tell you is that this particular state actually comes in, and let me just put this as definition on here so you can see. The state stores a predefined with the data schema that's easy to carry on action like save, update, delete, view. These are the logical state with it. So there are times that you will want to create a web page that requires a particular field, requires a particular update with it. That's the logical state that you got to have with it. In Amazon e-commerce websites, such as you add things to your shopping cart, it automatically taps in and puts in your zip code, your cost to that with it. All that stuff is all what's called logical states that's built into your delivery package with it as well. So there's a certain library file that you would actually do, and it actually taps into that example with it as well. So the second one is what's called the server state. And I don't want to bore you all this stuff with it. But the server state, basically, it handles is the server-side include that's requested with it. Now, server-side files such as PHP, ASP.x, Java server page, these are the server-side page. It's more of a back end. It connects the front end of your web page to the database. So the server state basically handles all the requests that takes place with it, and where does it go from the landing page with it as well. So let me just give you a little summary of what this is. The server state handles all the server-side data introduced by the HTTP request. The information contains the data and request state like loading of a page, fetch, and updates a particular inventory to your front end of this. So you need that middle page that connects the data of the back end, the database, to your front end with it as well. Again, it's a lot of this is different states that you have to look at it with it. So when you do a search, what is the query? What is that something that's currently in the inventory and all that stuff with it. So that's that with it. The next one is the form state with it. The form state is really a form. Let me give you this. Everybody knows what a form is, right? The form state is like a form. You fill out certain fields in a form. It holds a radio button, checkbox, a pull-down menu. These are the different types of form state. Again, this form state goes and collects the data to a server-side file that processes it and put it into the database. So a lot of these type of states that you're dealing with, it works together with it. Different form states that you can actually fill out to it as well. So, for example, going back to e-commerce with it as well. E-commerce has a page for products, a checkout, and a payment form that includes all the quantity, shipment, address, card, and all this stuff, and it sends it to an email or an order filling distribution place to actually order fill that, package that, takes that off of the inventory, sends the billing with it, so on with it. So there's a really good things that you need to look at with it. That's the form state. You fill out a form, you hit submit. So that's the form state. This state is the next one is the navigation state. I'm going to go back here and we're going to touch base on some of the stuff with it. Navigation state is a state that actually creates a path to certain things that you will actually have to your navigation to your website. Let's put a T here. So the navigation state is about the path or parameter of the URL that uses how the state is the page that becomes navigation to it. Now, there's a piece in here that I didn't add in here yet. It's called the UI UX, user interface and user experience in here. Now, these states are very, very, you're going to be doing some of this by going into the page folder in here. So you already created, you see this right here, it says menu, and you're going to create other pages that's in the state in here as well. So it's sorting different types of files and how do you actually navigate to certain page back and forth to this as well. Again, these states coexist together. They don't coexist by themselves with it, all right? So just to give you a heads up with that. The last one is the browser state, and the browser state is very important. It has to do with your bandwidth and how much you store in your files with it. Let me put a dash here with it. The browser state handles mainly about the application with it as well. So the browser states handles the detail of the current users on the application with it. So the browser state handles the detail of the current user of the application. It's mostly read by the component of the mount. These states are locally stored in the key value pair. What does that mean? Username, password. You're authenticating when you actually log into a page. You're saying who you are with it. So these are things that such as your cookies, such as your session variable that you storage with it. So when you store things on a variable, on a certain number with it, these are the type of stuff that, how long are you connected to this server? If you connect to the bank, does it expire? Okay, these are all browser state. You time out, for example, eCampus would actually kick you off after about 3 hours if you don't touch your screen with it. It will ask you, are you still on? Are you still working? Are you awake? Are you have life? That type of stuff with it, right? Cookie data. It remembers where and it learns your behavior through these particular sites, and it just helps you to load the page in the future much faster with it. Now, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to talk to you about something that's very important in here with it. So I explained briefly what each of the states do with it, and I want you to think about each of the states that has a different type of library files that comes with it. All right. So the actual library files, that has a lot to do with different states that you're going to actually import in. For example, logical states. There's a whole bunch there are hundreds of these library files that you're going to actually bring in with it. And the list goes on and on with it as well, right? You're going to have to go into the React JS and pull that up with it, right? But just to name a few, the server-side states library that you'll look like when you see a server-side state with it, you have library files that looks like this, all right? So some of these library files could be a query, SWR, Apollo, all of this with it. Again, I'm just pulling some of this from your React JS with it. All right, I'm talking too much. I'm boring you. The second one is the library file that's in the form state with it. So let me give you a few of that, what that looks like with it. Here's what that looks like. Remember, there's the React hook form with it, the navigation with it. The navigation has its router and wouter with it as well. So sounds kind of weird, right? But just to give you a few with it, there's the router and there's the wouter with it. Yes, it's called wouter. And of course, your last state's your browser state with it. Your browser state API, application program interface with it, right? So that's what that looks like with it. So I mean, bored you and all this stuff with it, but just to give you understand the different type of states that takes place with it, because if you have the right, if you're designing a page, you have to import in some of these sessions that you're using with it as well. I'm going to stop right now. It's 18 minutes. The next part, I'm going to start coding the index. What is this? The index, the Navbar. I'm sorry, Navbar JavaScript. So I'm going to stop right here.